Is that the Sturf dance?
Oh no. I hope not.
Everyone do the Sturf dance. She's going real slow-mo, ignoring the pace of the song, but still hitting the beat. Cross them out, cross them up, cross them up, bring it up, go down. Hey everybody, it's me, Juices TV, your best friend on the internet. And this is my friend Sturf, aka Sturfistan, aka Kate. Doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. I'm gonna boost you up. How's it going, chat? We're here with a little AMA, a little pivot. We have a little time zone issue with our originally scheduled guest who lives in the future, aka Australia. So Sturf was kind enough to volunteer to come on air with no warm up, no lead in time, on completely short notice.
I have no idea what you're gonna ask me. It's gonna be fun.
I don't know what I'm gonna ask you. We're gonna talk about you, your life, your experience in gaming, what it's like to be a Sturf in today's gaming climate, all sorts of fun stuff. Zero prep Sturf. Look, Sturf is a lead producer. Sturf doesn't require prep. Sturf is prep. 100% prep for anything at all time.
That's definitely true.
I think we could test it. Like, okay, zombies are coming at your face right now, but you're prepped. How are you prepped? What's around you for defense?
So I have like a steel hooligan in the other room that I could like cut their faces open with.
See? Prepped.
All these doors have locks on them. I got a lot of heavy objects I could barricade with. I'm prepared for anything.
Yeah, and you have a very like ready for action haircut.
It could be a little more ready for action right now. But
yeah, it's getting a little fuzzy.
If I had more than 15 minutes, I would have.
Yeah, no, it's my fault. It doesn't look bad. What all of you don't understand is that Sturf has legit like Viking hair with like the sides completely shaved, and then the top is long and fierce, and then she's got massive guns and tattoos all over.
I don't have any tattoos.
All over, just war like teardrops for every jerk that she's murdered. They had it coming.
Actually paler than this, but I'm tattooed completely to look like this.
All over. Chat, River, if you could give a tattoo to Sturf, any tattoo, and she doesn't have a say in it, what would you do? Because it would be like a huge eagle on the shoulders in the back, so that when she shows you the gun show, the eagle's arms are spread out, you know? A pirate. Okay, that's a little on the nose. But that's fair. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. So for everybody hanging out, if you've never been to an AMA before here at Captain TV, the mission of the AMA program is to deliver information to those of you who are interested in receiving the information, in the hopes that we can help you be more informed and perhaps become a little bit better at your craft, being a streamer or an industry professional or aspiring to either of those things. And to that end, we bring in streamers, we bring in industry professionals. We've had like graphic designers focused on streaming, Twitch stuff and branding. We've had people who do sponsorships for streamers who may be interested in stuff like that. We've had plenty of successful streamers on who kind of give tips and hints and insights into their processes and how they approach streaming, and they just share like their learnings with us, so that, you know, we can glean this information directly from sources. Because as you all know, going into a streamer's chat, to ask them questions about streaming is largely verboten. And while it's certainly possible to glean information simply by observing a stream, a lot of times you may have questions or wonder about things that you don't have the agency to ask in real time. So here you have Sturf. I know it says streamer AMA up there, but this is actually an industry AMA. I just don't have the art up because we had a little bit of a last minute pivot. But Sturf is a lead producer of a video game. Okay, that means that Sturf is in charge of everything, right? What you did? Why don't you tell us what your job is then, Sturf? Since you seem to think that you know your job better than I know your job.
You probably do, to be honest. Oh, I won the poll. Sweet. Production is sort of a weird role. Like, it differs a lot depending on where you are. It tends to be a little bit of a grab bag role for all the things that need to get done somehow, and there isn't necessarily a person to do them. What I guess it means here, and kind of on the project I'm on right now, is it's a lot of like figuring out what we should be working on and then aligning the team towards doing that. So that covers a lot of different things. It could be like writing specs to help figure out what the game is actually going to be, helping to like run playtests and gather feedback and process that feedback. It could be like organizing the team, doing like scheduling, task management kind of stuff to make sure that we're all moving in the right direction. And a lot of weird things in between, I guess.
Like what? Like what are the weird in between things? Because that's what I'm interested in. Like doing AMAs on short notice? Is that one of the weird things?
Like doing AMAs on short notice, like I guess here it's like coordinating a lot of our alphas when we're running a bunch of those, so like figuring out who's going to be in them and how are we going to determine how to get those people going, and then like working with giving boating lessons. I gave boating lessons this morning at stand up.
Boating lessons? Yeah,
it's really important that the Pirates team knows how to respect the nautical law.
Oh, can you give us like your top 3 favorite nautical laws?
Well, the best nautical law is that if you abandon anything on the water, it's basically fair game. So if you see something, you should take it. That's, I guess, piratey too. Let's see, what's another good one? There's like, I don't know if this is a law so much as like a thing. It is a law. So like there's like rights of way when you're on the water based on like how much power you have. So like if you're in a kayak, people have to get out of your way because you can't move well. And if you're like in a giant powerboat, then like you have to get out of everyone else's way, except if you're like a cruise ship and you can't stop. It's basically like, what is your ability to maneuver? And you have to yield to the people who can't. And
that makes sense. Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like these aren't interesting facts. They're just,
I find them interesting.
Facts.
Please don't gatekeep what is interesting to chat. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you find this interesting. I can't come up with a third one.
That's fine. You could have made something up and it would be fine.
If you see a shark, you have to befriend it.
Like
It's
offer
the
it
law.
lunch or
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't have lunch to provide, you are the lunch.
If there was somebody on the Pirates team that you had to feed to a shark, like for some reason you had to do it, and it can't be yourself because I know that's where you're gonna go with
Can't
it.
be myself.
Nope.
That's not fair.
Who are you throwing to the sharks? And why is it Jazzerus?
I was gonna say it's Jazz because I think Jazz would survive.
Jazz could punch a shark in the eye.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. That's a good approach. It's not, and see, one of the insights here is that Sturf didn't go for like the obvious, like, oh, we're gonna throw the weak link like Survivor style, or we're gonna throw the person that I don't like as much. No, it's like, who is the one that's most likely to punch a shark in the eye and survive? And that's Jazz, right?
Yeah, it's just practical for the team.
Yeah.
It's production, basically.
Jazz would figure it out for sure. Okay, so if you have questions for Sturf, any question, I mean, you know, not any question, but any question that's pertaining to gaming, pirates, boat, nautical law, being a producer, being in the industry, please place said question or questions, thank you, River, in the AMA questions channel in our Discord. There are a few in there already, but I think we should start simply having Sturf tell us about your interest, or not your interest, sorry, your history, where you came from and how you got to where you are now.
Sure.
But make it real real exciting and interesting. Like pretend it's like a John Woo film. And there's just doves flying everywhere and like slow motion.
Like I don't have the right props for this.
It's okay, we can imagine it. Theater of the mind.
I have this small rubber duck. That's all I got.
What's on the bottom of it? That's gross. You need to clean that duck off.
It's dirt. It's a friend for my plant.
Oh. Okay. You got
it's not gross.
Black mold in your duck right there.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
I forgot the question already.
What? Please tell us your history in gaming.
Oh yeah. So I went to school for animation. I was went to art school. And I think
like traditional animation.
Mostly like 3D animation.
Okay.
But a little bit of everything. And I did some game stuff too. But mostly like analog games, like board games, or live action games. So I graduated and then I was interning at this like serious games place that was making a physical therapy game for the Kinect, which is, the Kinect is terrible. Don't ever work with the Kinect.
The views of CTV Sturf do not necessarily reflect those of Captain TV.
Well, okay. I feel like I need to clarify by saying this was like the first Kinect, not the second one. We actually used both, but the first one was like not a good piece of software or hardware.
Okay.
The second one was better, but it was still like not really equipped for what we were trying to do with it. And it didn't really make a lot of sense as a business plan, I guess. And this startup shut down like a year later after I was there. And it was a startup, so I did wearing a lot of different hats. It was only about 8 people. So I had started doing like a lot of 3D modeling and then was doing some project management kind of stuff. And then I was going to see our clients and like going on like sales calls with people. And ended up just doing like a lot of different things. And realized that I liked all the other things better than I liked my actual core job.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess like I'm not a person who can like sit down and do the same thing for 8 hours straight. So that is great to be in production for, because you don't typically do the same thing for an hour at a time, no less 8.
Mm-hmm.
So when that shut down, I was talking to one of my coworkers there, and they were like, have you considered being in production? I didn't really know what production was. I think people generally have a pretty good grasp on like what an artist is and does, and like what a programmer does, vaguely at least, like what a designer does. I'm actually not sure that people have a clear idea what a designer does.
I don't think they do when it comes to game designing.
Yeah, like I feel like a graphic designer is a little clearer, but production is like even squishier. And I think when you describe it to people, sometimes it sounds really boring, that you're like, oh, it's just like a like project management thing, and you just like have tasks and like track bugs. And that is sort of like the meat of it, but I think the parts around it are a lot more interesting, where it's like you're really trying to develop processes and systems that make everyone's life easier.
That is so much more exciting. Processes, everybody.
Processes. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's like a lot less about like creating tasks and remembering to do stuff so much as it is like remembering to do stuff every single time, like making like things that you do the same way over and over again, and making that less error prone, kind of like streamlining all of the stuff you do into something that is easier and less painful for everybody. And sometimes that's like trying to figure out how tools can help you, trying to figure out how you can like take people out of the process so you're not having so many handoffs. And I think it's like really rooted in being a people problem, and that's what I like about it. It's like you're trying to figure out what works best for your team, and that may not be what works best for every team. It might not be a universal solution, like, and it's kind of like a toolkit that you develop that you then apply to a lot of different situations that are all a little bit different.
Okay.
So that's what I think is fun about it anyway. If that sounds fun to anyone.
Well, and that's great, but you didn't actually answer the question. So let's wind it back. Let's make a process document. After you left the first job at that startup, then what happened?
So then I was like doing like art freelance stuff for like 6 months, just kind of like messing around, figuring out what I wanted to do with my life.
And this is how long ago, approximately?
This was like 2015.
Oh, okay. So not that long ago.
Yeah. So I was talking to like a friend of a friend who worked at one of the studios that's in Baltimore where I am, and was like, what should I do with my life? I went to coffee with him and was like, are you guys hiring? What's going on? And he was kind of like, we're not hiring, but I can put you in touch with this other company that is hiring, and like maybe you can figure something out there, but also like you have to figure out what you want to do. I think that's like kind of a trickiness of like game development as an industry versus like as a hobby or as an indie kind of situation, is like you kind of have to pick a lane a little bit. It's pretty hard to be totally a generalist when you're just starting. You kind of have to like pick something that you want to like go down the track of specializing in. And as a person who like all the personal project games I had made before then were like a small group where everyone did everything, or me where I did everything. So it's kind of hard to like think about games as being like these separate tracks. But I actually feel like that was helpful to me in the long term, because at the end of the day, it's like all of the different disciplines are coming together to like complete the same goal. And like however you get there is sort of like irrelevant to the final product in some ways. So
you got a job with doing what?
So I, sent a resume and cover letter to some, email address, and didn't hear anything for months and assumed they were never going to call me back. And was trying to think of other things to do. And then randomly, like 4 months later, they called me back. And we're like, hey, we just launched our game and we've been really busy. And like, do you want to come in for an interview? And I was like, sure. And I was terrified. And I think this is sort of the other thing, was like the serious games job that I had felt very not legit.
Okay.
And I think in my head, I had internalized that as like not experience that anyone would care about. And I was like, it's not even like real games, it's serious games, which is like not really helpful. That like it was the same process that we were running through. It was definitely like more haphazard, and like the leadership was funky, but like that was real experience, and it took a lot for me to like believe that and be able to like present that as a thing that I actually like understood and knew.
So you had some imposter syndrome, it sounds like. Is that how you put it?
I still have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's circle back to that later. But okay, so they called you in for an interview and you got the job, presumably?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the title that you applied for?
I didn't like apply to a job description. I just like sent my resume and was like, hire me, please.
Okay, so they hired you to do what?
I was an assistant producer. So I was like a contractor. I was basically Kermon's assistant.
Like actually Kermon's assistant?
Yes.
Okay.
Kermon was my boss.
That's awkward. Yeah. Cool.
It's not awkward at all. Kermon's great.
Yeah. Mama Owl, thanks for subscribing.
Yeah.
So you worked for Kermon's.
Yeah.
And how long did that last?
It's sort of still happening, isn't it? No.
Well, you weren't at Captain TV at the time.
Yeah.
So you were there for how many years at the other place?
I was there for 5.5 years.
Okay. It's a healthy chunk of time.
Kind of a long time, yeah.
And did you report to Kermon the entire time? Or did you eventually like branch out, or how did that?
No. So I reported to like a record number. I think I reported to like 10 people over the course of the 5.5 years I was there, which is a little crazy. But yeah. It was like Kermond and then someone else, and then Kermond went on paternity leave, and then it was someone else, and then that person left and I reported to a different person, and then I think I briefly reported to Kermond again, and then they hired another person and I report to that person, and that it was a lot of different people.
Okay. So you learned a lot, because it's hard to report to a bunch of different people, but at the same time you're also like getting exposed to a lot of different management styles, adapting to how different people work, hopefully learning as you go. If not learning from them, learning how to manage them or how to get along. I mean, what were the challenges of having like that constant change in leadership?
So I think part of it was I feel like I got a lot of like, you're doing a good job, so we're gonna leave you alone, and like we trust you make good choices. And there are some ways in which that was really great, and there are other ways in which I was like, no, please, I'm like very young and inexperienced, and I would love guidance here. And I think that's just sort of a push and pull of management.
So at some point, Captain TV was like, "Hey, we need a sturf," and you were like, "I'm a sturf." How'd that happen?
No. So the last company I worked for had layoffs, and I didn't get laid off. But they were consolidating down the company into like focusing on their older product that I had already worked on. And I was kind of like, yeah. Like, I've been there, I've done that. I kind of want to do something new and fun. So I was like, hey, Kermon, do you want to hire me again?
Okay. And Kermon was like, cool. Yeah.
No, and then he was like, I don't know, I'll get back to you for like a couple months.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I also I took some time off between, because I was like, I've been working a lot for 5.5 years, and I'm bad at taking vacations and taking time off. So if I'm gonna do it, now is gonna be the time. So I was just like hanging out and playing video games for like 2 months.
What video games did you play over the course of those 2 months? Was there one in particular that you spent a lot of time in?
Trying to remember. I didn't play one big game. I think I played a lot of The Sims. I played Foundation. I don't know if you played Foundation.
I played Foundation, yeah.
I feel like there must have been something else. I think I was on a Switch kick at the time.
Okay.
And I don't remember what I was playing.
Okay, that's fair. Animal Crossing.
I was also determined to do a lot of house projects. and I didn't do like any of them.
We often see you with an exposed brick background, but not just this place. Like everywhere you go, you always have like exposed brick behind you. Is that sort of your jam?
Kinda.
Okay.
Oh, it probably was Spiritfarer, actually. I think that's right. Sorry, someone in the chat. It's mentioning it. Yeah, I like bricks. I like exposed bricks.
It's not a judgment. It's just a question. This is a judgment-free zone until you say something completely preposterous, and then I will judge the heck out of you. But you'll know when it happens. Like, I'm very upfront about that.
Yeah. I did move into this house, and there was, like, nothing here. And the first thing I set up was my desk right here. And I was, like... in my old house, I had the situation where, like, my bed was behind my desk, and I was like, this is not a cute aesthetic background at all. It also means I have to make my bed every day, which is not acceptable.
No. What's the point?
Yeah, you're just gonna mess it up again anyway.
I have never understood the point of it, honestly, but it's fine.
I do like when it's done, but I don't like doing it, and I don't like feeling like I have to do it.
Right.
So yeah, I set this up. This was like the first thing, and I didn't really think about it a lot. I was just kind of like, desk has to go somewhere. There's a window right here. Want to sit next to the window. That's cool. And then I like set my webcam up, and I was like, that actually looks kind of good. Perfect. Awesome. Haven't changed a thing. It was like the only thing set up in the house at the time. So.
Are there parts of your house that have drywall?
Yeah, actually most of them do.
Okay.
This is the only exposed brick inside.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so you've been at Captain TV for
about a year.
No, longer than that, isn't it?
No, it's about a year.
That's it?
Yeah. It was like the end of March. It was March 21st.
I feel like you've been bothering me for like 2.5 years at this point. That's not the case, huh?
It's just my jam.
All right. Well, to be fair, like the company has grown quite a bit since you started, and I feel that probably plays, like, even though it hasn't been that long chronologically, you're kind of like one of the veterans at this point. River, no, that's River. Yeah, River and I have been bothering each other for a couple years now, and on different teams as well, where we keep ping-ponging around the company, doing different things and different hats. Hey, we got a battle, Sturf. Are you ready? Are you ready to call the action?
Oh yeah. I don't think I've ever had to do this before, actually.
All right, well, now's your chance. Go.
Let me. Bum 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 bum.
You don't have to sing. You could just play by play it.
Oh, there's guys running towards the guys. I think we're pretty safe in our little fort right here. We got good barricades. I wish we had traps so that we could stop them from getting here.
You've been playing a lot of RimWorld. Yeah.
And I see some good locations for traps and where we should build some more walls. Our guys off to the side there on the left don't look so good. It's not going well, but I think our core base there is going to be able to hold out here. That Captain TV labeled something. The small dot on my screen looks like it's it's Nerder.
It's Nerder. Yeah.
Nerder's got us. We're gonna be okay.
I made the mistake of putting down the Nerder Rogue when I was thinking Archer, but it's actually the Juice Archer and the Nerder Rogue. So, but it's fine now because Nerder is out there throwing gold stars at fools, and we won.
Yeah.
Jeff bought. You won a thing. TLE Squire, you won 2 things, and Psy W54 also won 2 things, in addition to all of the things that you won other than these things. So congratulations. And now it's time for a loyalty skin chest. So if you've been hanging out with the weekly, you probably have some loyalty. Look, now I can put down an Archer, the Juice Archer, and it makes more sense to put that in the defensive zone. I know strategies.
Good
and we're back.
Games.
You won something. I mean, you won a scroll. Yeah, scroll in the game. That's a big thing. You got me to say your name out loud, which that's not special. I'm sorry. I was trying to make it special, but it's really not.
That's pretty special. Juice, say my name. Say my name again.
Kate Sturf.
I'm richer than everyone in chat right now. Jesus said my name twice. How about that?
So Sturf in Slack has her name as Sturf. Is that the right number of Sturfs? Well, tell me.
It's 7 Sturfs.
Okay, so say it.
Sturf.
Oh, that's how it's specifically pronounced with that. Okay, my bad.
Don't mispronounce it.
Yeah, like everybody says your name a million times. I think you've set it up to be this way. Intentionally.
Yeah. I like it because when my little notifs go off in the corner, it just feels like people are screaming my name all the time. And my brain has this like I'm a dog reaction where I'm like, oh, people are saying my name. I love this.
Okay. At least you're honest about it. We like that.
It. Yeah, to anyone.
Okay, so
you've
been
know how happy you can be.
Sturf. What are you drinking? What's that? Is that beer? Are you day drinking right now?
No, this is
keep it classy,
seltzer.
Baltimore. Okay. Sturf's got the White Claw out on a Thursday afternoon. I mean, it's almost closing time. You're fine. Don't worry about it. You don't think Kermond is like half his way through a fifth of Jack by now? Cool. Yeah. I'm kidding. Don't. That's libel and or slander. He'll never see this. It's fine. Okay, so you've been at Captain TV. When you started, was it to work on Pirates?
I had no idea what I was gonna do.
Okay. Who did you interview with? Brad? Motts? Kermie?
I talked to Kermond and Aaron before I interviewed. I had worked with both of them before. So I had had a what am I walking into kind of conversation with both of them. And then I interviewed with Motts and Brad. Yeah.
Okay. So when you were in that interview, do you have a takeaway about what they saw you doing, and does it match what you are doing now?
So I kind of took over both of my interview slots and just asked them a whole lot of questions.
Okay.
I had 30 questions and then we just talked for a long time. But yeah, I think I don't think I knew coming out of my interview what I was going to work on either.
Okay.
I mean, I sort of vaguely knew. They were like, we've got this Stream Pirates thing going, we have the Stream Raiders thing, and I was like, I'll be on one of those two projects probably.
What are the what are some of the big questions that you needed to have answered, and or what questions do you think applicants should ask potential employers?
You should ask as many questions as you can.
Well, right, but
yeah, but
what'd you have for breakfast today? What do you, come on, give us something applicable to the real world.
So a lot of the questions I asked were actually more about the business than the projects themselves. Because it was a startup. I was like, what's going on here? Is this a real business basically? Tell me what is the plan? What is the 5-year plan for this? What are we doing? And basically I kind of was sell me that this is a cool idea. I thought about it a bunch. I played a lot of Raiders before I actually interviewed with folks, and I had sort of developed a lot of my own ideas about what I thought was really interesting about the space. So a lot of it was kind of just a jam session about what kind of just getting each other hyped up about what I thought was cool about the project and the company. So I don't know if that's helpful. I mean, I think that is something that you should ask, is you should basically be you should be excited about what you're doing. Like, you want to get the vibe when you interview somewhere that like the people are pumped about what they're doing and they're invested in it and they like believe in the cause and like yeah.
So it sounds like you did like a super boss power move, and instead of like groveling for a job, you made them grovel for a sturf.
Yeah, I think I recommend that to anyone interviewing, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you got to a call, it's because they thought you looked cool on paper, and I think like demonstrating that you understand the problems and being able to like ask good questions about what like the space in the business and the project is like probably one of the things that shines best coming out of an interview. Like, I'm interviewing a ton of people right now, but it's like when people have a lot of questions and they're like, you know, you explain something and they're like, oh, that's really interesting and that makes me think about XYZ, and like you could have a conversation about that. That's like bodes the best, I guess.
You mentioned interviewing a lot of people right now. What are like, you don't need, obviously don't name anybody, you would never, but are there examples of like things that people did where you're like, never do that or always do that?
Yeah. Like, I guess like don't like talk smack about your previous employers.
Okay.
Don't that's probably like the top one, is like, I think like, so we people may not know this, like a lot of companies and we also do this, like we break up into like rounds, so like each person has like a responsibility for what corner of that experience they're supposed to be interviewing for. And usually I'm looking for like team fit and communication skills, and like it depends on the person, but like that's kind of the thing that I do generally. And like the questions I'm asking is like, not only do you have the craft skill to do what you're doing, and that's usually in the other groups, but I'm kind of like, how are you going to get it along with everybody? And like that doesn't mean like, I think some people can like read that as like you have to like certain things, or like it's really more just like, if you end up in a situation where you disagree with someone, like how are you going to handle that? Like if things don't go your way, then like how do you handle that? I think like a good game development team is like a well-oiled machine, and like there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and it's common that things go wrong, and there's a lot of like opinions, and that doesn't leave a lot of room, in my opinion, for like personalities that aren't going to fit with the team. Like it's really about the team dynamic and everyone being able to work well together, more so than it is like individual rock star personalities. So yeah, a lot of the times I'm trying to weed out like, you know, tell me about conflicts you've had before. Like, how did that go? How did you resolve it? Like it should be on you to try to resolve it. And it's kind of like, sometimes people tell you things that make you think like, oh, were these problems like problems with an organization you had, or like, were you part of the problem, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, like the bad way that goes.
So like talk about like sort of your ideal candidate. Like, how are they impressing you? Like, what did the people watching in chat have jobs that they're going to apply for tomorrow or 2 years from now? And I'm not even talking about applying here. I'm just like wherever in life. As a hiring manager, you sit in a lot of interviews, so give us some pro tips.
Yeah. Yeah, I love when people have questions. I actually feel like if we end early, that's usually not a great note. Because like ideally you can keep talking about stuff and you have further questions about that. That just shows that you're like actually interested in the role, company, and like Yeah, I guess it's also like it's totally okay to just be like, how do you like working here? What are the problems you guys have? Like, you can like ask for dirt, I guess. And it's actually like kind of refreshing when people do, because it's like it basically shows that like they want to work in a great team environment, and that they're not going to stand for a not great team environment. So I think like, again, like we're working really hard to build a great team environment that's inclusive, that has like people who excite each other and like bring up the mood, not bring down the mood. So like showing that you want that is like a sign that I want you on the team, I guess. I think I've already lost the thread of what you asked.
Well, I think you did fine. We were just asking, I was just asking about like ways that somebody might stand out as a positive in an interview.
Yeah.
But that's sort of off track. I mean, let's get it back onto the track.
Well, I have a better answer for that.
Okay, go ahead.
Is like prove that you understand the high level goals. And like in our case, that would be like play the game. And when we ask questions about it, like be able to riff on it, be able to talk about your experience playing the game, like be able to talk about like the space, and like how a question that I ask a lot is like, tell me what you think about Twitch, like as a viewer or as a streamer, like what are your impressions of the space? And for us, that's like, have you thought at a higher level beyond just like we're making a game to like, what is our audience? What do they care about? Like, I guess this ties back to like this as a series, which is just like a big part of our business is like caring what streamers care about, and being able to understand what their needs are and figure out how to serve those needs. So like as a person on the team, like you having thought about that before shines really well and is really helpful.
If I was to apply for a job at Captain TV, but I'd never, it was clear to you that I'd never been on Twitch before or have very little grasp of Twitch as a platform, how much does that matter?
I don't think it's necessarily like, so like I didn't have a ton of Twitch experience before I was prepping for this role. Like I had watched a little bit of Twitch, but I didn't watch anyone regularly. Like the deepest experience I had was like when Twitch Plays Pokemon was a thing for the first time, which is actually a great corollary to what we're doing. But it's like, yeah, I didn't have a ton of experience with it. Like when I prepped for the interview, I watched a lot of Twitch ahead of time. I watched some of our dev streams actually. And like, I don't think that's a huge deal, actually. Like, okay. It's okay to not know things. And like, there's a lot of roles where that's directly your job. Like, you know, we're interviewing engineers, and it's like, I don't expect an engineer to have like a deep Twitch knowledge in the same way that I expect a streamer marketing person to have a deep Twitch knowledge.
Whoa. I feel attacked.
Do you even know things about Twitch, Juice?
Probably less than what Captain TV thinks I know. No, that's not true. I mean, but it's not about me and how I managed to climb the ranks to be, you know, very, very important at Captain TV and make so many pizza points every week.
You probably have more pizza points than I do.
I have no pizza points. I'm sorry. I got no sandwich points. I got no points. It's brutal. Sorry. How did I manage to turn it about me? I forgot. It's not important. So you came here and they were like, yo, we would like you to make this game called Stream Pirates. Go. And you were just like, cool, I got this. Bam. Right? Is that how it went?
It kind of did. I started and they were like, so we're trying to have a play test at the end of this week, and we're trying to run an alpha at the end of this month. And I was like, okay, that's aggressive. I haven't seen the game yet, but throw me in, coach. I'm good.
Yeah.
And then as we were prepping for the play test, and I was just trying to like get a handle on what was going on, I was like, have like, tell me about our, how has it been going? How's the stuff? And they're like, well, we actually haven't had a successful playtest yet. And I was like, oh, that's scary. So yeah, I kind of jumped into the fire and just was like, kind of like, I guess it's kind of how I approach most things, which is just like try to learn what's going on before you suggest things. Do a lot of listening and watching, and playing the game, figure out what other people are worried about, what other people are like, what their struggles are, and how it's been going for them. And then kind of go from there and just like take it one goal at a time, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's a something that anybody can do in any job in the entire world, right? Like,
yeah,
whenever things seem complicated or overwhelming or challenging, break it down into its component pieces and just start at number one, right? Like,
yeah.
It feels good to get something checked off and make that pile of nonsense seem a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller until finally, you just have CTV Clippy to deal with. And as challenging as that is, like, if that's the only thing that you have to worry about, you probably live.
I don't have to deal with Clippy.
No.
Clippy has to deal with me.
Wow. Look, Sturf. I have a mild fear of you, but I have a lot of fear of Clippy, so I'm gonna be on Team Clippy here.
Clippy would murder me in a fight.
She's vicious. Like, shank in the sock, like she's just ready to roll at all times. If anybody on the Captain TV team owns an actual pair of brass knuckles, it's Clippy, right? Like, we can agree on that. Leather jackets with spikes on them, chains. Like, who even walks around fighting with a chain anymore? It's Clippy,
Yeah.
Old school, that old school mentality. All right, so we have some questions in the AMA questions channel. Let's maybe tackle some of these. So, 2 questions, both of them are the same. One from Whoppy and one from Baron Von Wolf. Stream Pirates when?
It's the question everyone wants the answer to.
Mm-hmm. And here it is, 100%. We got the answer. Go. Boom.
I don't have a date for you.
What?
I don't.
This is an AMA. I guess to be fair, it doesn't mean answer and everything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how I can answer this in a way that's satisfying. Yeah, I mean, like, what I can say is, like, we're still working on it. We're more than still working on it. We're actually making a lot of progress on it. I think that it's easy to, like, look at games and be like, oh, why is it not done yet? Why isn't it moving towards the goal? And it's like, it's a very non-linear process. And I think, like, there's a lot of ways in which you're, like, finding the fun is a journey in itself, and it's a lot of, like, wandering around different concepts, trying different things, recombining them in different ways. That is not, it's one of those things that when it clicks, and, like, no matter how many games you make, it's like you learn the tool set better, but, like, if you're trying to make something that's, like, interesting and new and different, like, it's just not gonna be a formula. And that's frustrating both as a player and a developer. But yeah, I guess, like, we've made a lot of progress. Like, we're trying a bunch of different stuff. A lot of the stuff we're trying is cooler than it was before. Or I think it's cooler than it was before.
Yeah.
And we are moving towards the finish line.
Can you give us some more sports platitudes here? We're moving
really
towards the finish line. We're rounding second. We're heading home. We're aiming for the fences.
Or the ball is the goal. Something. I don't know.
Nerder She Wrote.
Nerder.
You filthy tryhard. Nobody subscribes to this channel. Why would you? This nerder. Classic nerder. She's just, you know what it is that I think nerder is just protective. Like, she sees Sturf next to me and she's a little bit territorial now, like feeling a little threatened by you.
I'm afraid for my life.
Oh, you shouldn't be afraid of nerder. She's a kitty cat. No,
she could also murder me.
I don't think either of you are that way.
I'm a coward.
Yeah, but Nerder's not a fighter. Like, not like Clippy. Clippy will shank someone for giving her like the wrong order at McDonald's. Like, you know, Nerder will probably just like talk it out with you or whatever. It'll be super boring. Old Nerder, Shirio, you need pizza? Yeah, bud. So the answer is Stream Pirates. There was no answer. It's happening. It's being worked on every day by a lot of people who are all trying to do a cool thing and make a neat product.
I will tell you, we're like ramping. Like,
they're ramping.
Ramping.
It's starting to ramp it up.
Yeah.
Is it like ramp? Because like, remember when Fonzie jumped the shark? That was off of a ramp. Is that the ramp you're talking about, or a different kind of ramp? Different ramp. Got it. Is it harder to make a game for streamers than it is to make a game for gamers?
It's different. I think maybe the answer is yes. I mean, the answer is only yes on the grounds that there aren't a ton of people doing it. So you don't have like 100,000 examples to point to. Like, if you're going to make a game that's like a more traditional kind of model, it's like a single player game or like a game where 4 people are trying to shoot something. It's like you have lots of examples to lean on there. And I think like, like looking at like competitors and being able to like see that, like, I think sometimes people get this idea that like making original games is like having totally original ideas that you like make and they're new, and it's like the reality of it is a lot more like there's nothing new under the sun and you're recombining pieces of things that you like into ways that hopefully fit and are cool. But there's like some mechanics that like work really well for that, and like we don't necessarily have that to lean on, which is kind of nice because we're like learning how to do this, and learning how to make a cool streamer experience, and that is different. And that's part of why I joined this company, is because that's a cool mission to have. But it also means that when it comes to like how that interaction goes, we're kind of like doing a newer thing here, you know? Yeah.
You're innovating. Trailblazing.
Yeah. We're
It's a good word.
trailblazing.
Blazing the trail.
Yeah. So like in that sense, I think like I guess to frame the problem here, it's like, especially if you're doing something that's like intended to be this side game experience, like streaming is a hectic activity and you don't want this game to be something that like feels like it's asking a lot from you. And that's like kind of a weird game prompt, like be like, make a game that's really fun that you play for 90 seconds every 30 minutes. Like that's a little bit of a weird problem to be like, make it fun, but don't make it so fun that you like are totally like enveloped in it all the time. It's like an idle experience. And you're also making like a lot of different games at once, where you're like making a game for the captain and then you're making a viewer experience, and those in some ways are like 2 totally separate games. You're making an experience that plays well with like 1 streamer and like 5 to 10 viewers. You're making a game that plays well with 1 streamer and 1,000 viewers. Like, and those are super different. And like when you play more traditional games, it's like the way like the map you play on for 100 people is not the same as the map you play on for 4.
Right.
And that scaling creates a lot of interesting problems to solve, I guess.
Sure. Rulin asks, how hard is it to decide the game is not yet ready? We have to keep working on it as a producer. And how often do you assess that?
Like daily, weekly. Yeah. It's kind of a hard question to answer. I think like saying like, is this fun enough is difficult, and especially in a world where like it's a like going to be a live service game. It's not like, you know, it's 1999, you put it on a disc and you give it to people and you're done. Like almost no games are like that anymore.
Right.
So like it creates this sort of interesting conundrum where it's like, do you put it out there being like, oh, I don't know if this is quite great yet, and hope that you like build to great? The problem with that is that it makes it like harder and harder to make really big changes, because you have an audience who's sort of expecting things to be roughly the same. So like, we're not doing this, but like if you overnight were like, instead of a Stream Pirates game, we want to take some of the same mechanics we have and make a Stream Circus game that has clowns, and that means that all of your like skins for your pirates you have, we're just gonna like throw in the trash because it's a clown game now. Like,
wait, we're making
like
Stream Clowns now? Stream Circus is a thing, not pirates?
No, we're not making Stream Circus.
I don't like clowns, man. I'm not afraid of clowns. I just think clowning is kind of creepy. I don't know. I don't get it. I think this is a bad choice. Can we go back to pirates, please?
Oh yeah, we'll just switch it back right now.
Okay, thank you.
It's done. Easy.
Seems like we narrowly avoided trouble there. Okay.
Yeah, so it's difficult to necessarily like make those changes live when there's a lot of people like watching and relying on the game who have like who've maybe paid you for the game, and you're like, oh, this thing doesn't really make sense anymore. So I guess in that regard, it's like you're trying to make the most fun game you can, but you're still like eventually hoping to ship something, and like there must come a time where you like stop making decisions and ship the thing. So
why did your brain go to circuses and clowns? Like, of all of the other things you could have picked, why clowns?
I was reading a spec last week, and it was for, yeah, I can say this. It was like for the like skin creation, and I was like making an example skin, and it was a clown with forks for hands.
But why did you go there? Like, what's up with you and clowns?
It was late at night. I was just like, what would make a funny skin?
A clown with forks for hands? That's funny.
Yeah.
That's not terrifying to you?
It is terrifying. It was an example of a skin we wouldn't accept because it was obscene. I'll show you the spec later. You're
Okay.
in it.
What? What? You better show it to me.
Just post it in the AMA chat.
What's your favorite pizza? What does that mean? Like topping or type? Okay, what's your favorite type of pizza, and then what's your favorite toppings to put on that pizza? And by type, I mean like thin crust, New York, pan, Detroit style, whatever.
So pizza is how
Floppy,
they make it in New York.
Floppy and greasy.
Eat it like a sandwich.
Yeah, no.
Hold it.
No.
And my favorite topping, it was this place like in the town I grew up in, would put cold cheese on top of the pizza. So it's like a regular cheese slice, and then you take like a fistful of mozzarella and you put it on top.
Shredded mozzarella?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The theory was that they were open until like 4 a.m. and it was like open past when all the bars were open.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're super drunk and you can't detect hot foods, it would be like cold hitting the top of your mouth so you wouldn't burn your face. You gotta try it sometime. It's really good.
I mean, a lot of people put Parmesan on top of their pizza. Like,
No. It's like a textural experience. It's like the cold, like shredded mozzarella It's totally different.
So your favorite topping on a cheese pizza is cheese, like more cheese.
Yeah.
Okay, you and Nerder should hang out. I'm gonna switch over to Stream Raiders real quick to get that out of my brain. Here we go. Are you ready? Attempt number 2. Give us your best rendition of the battle song. Go.
This is terrible.
I'm amused and embarrassed for you, and that's great. Thank you.
Sometimes the Raiders theme just gets stuck in my head. And
Oh my god, I wake up with it in my head. You don't have any idea. Yo, everybody in chat who feels the same way, please know that I have screamed from the top of the mountain in almost every single meeting that we need to at least add in some other songs, because that one tune haunts me.
I feel like we just need to lean into it. Like all the captains who've done like covers of it, we should just put those in the game.
We talked about doing it. Can you make it happen for pirates? Can you promise chat right now that if there is music, there will be more than one tune, and or you'll make periodic changes?
I will make you a game developer's promise, which is ironclad.
Yeah.
And can never be taken back.
Correct.
That I would love for that to happen.
Not I would love for. You can make it happen. You are the lead producer of this game. If anyone can make it happen, it's yes, you can. Yes, you can. You have to be a leader in this space. Lead producer of the music. It should be not that hard for you to control. Lead producer.
A great leader does not just.
Sometimes a great leader needs to stand in and say, no, we will have more than one song that people listen to over and over and over for 3 years straight. We will have 2 songs. That's not hard. You can do it. Yeah, being owner. That's one of our things, our pillars of success. Is that what it's called?
I don't think you want another song.
I do. Oh, God, I do. I really do.
If there were 2 songs,
yeah,
you would have the one you really hated and the other one. You wouldn't love the other one. Then you would ask for 3 songs.
I would ask for 10 songs. Why can't there be 30 songs? Why can't we contact Pretzel and be like, yo, can we pipe some of your awesome, like one channel, and it can just be it can just be like the Epic channel, and when people play, it just plays the whatever you have queued up from Pretzel, and then we'll put your little logo on the screen and we get music. Done.
Do you want the real answer to
I should be the producer.
More complicated.
I am the producer now. I've taken over.
People have to download the extra music, and then it takes longer load time.
No, it streams it because they're on the internet. It streams it from Pretzel through Stream Raiders app.
Is magic?
Yes.
Because it is, but you know.
Or just have your own music. I turned off the music. I haven't had the actual Stream Raiders music on in 2 years, and I still hear it constantly. It's still in my brain. Well, and a lot of times it's because we will sing it or some version of it. On my channel, I have various other streamers who I have recorded them singing it, and then people play that. So it's like not the exact same tune, but it's the same tune, right? Like I just need new stuff. Questions go into the AMA questions channel. Nerder She Wrote asks, what's your favorite indie game and why?
My favorite indie game?
Other than Stream Raiders / Pirates. Do you like indie games?
I do really like indie games.
Okay.
It's a hard question because there's many candidates, not few.
Well, give us like any of your favorites. It doesn't have to be the number one best ever.
I think this is my number one best ever. So my favorite indie game if you like puzzle games, oh, that's another good one. Well, I'm gonna power through. Is a game called Steven's Sausage Roll. It's a very ugly game, but it is like probably the best puzzle game that I've played this decade. It's kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it, but I like the name.
It's the premise is that you play a very low poly man named Steven, and you've got a fork, and you're trying to cook just giant sausages.
Do you like sausage?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not a loaded question. I'm just wondering. You mentioned having cheese on your pizza earlier, so it to me like asking if you like sausage, because I would put like pepperoni or sausage on my pizza. I'm just asking.
I would put sausage on my pizza.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, maybe she's a vegetarian. I don't know, chat. Sturf was low-key offended by that. Like, of course I don't know what part was offensive to you. The thought that maybe you wouldn't like sausage, or like, is that offensive? I don't understand.
I don't know.
Y'all are weird, chat.
I don't like pineapple on my pizza.
I mean, no one's perfect. I like pineapple pizza, but not just pineapple. It has to balance the savoriness of like a pepperoni or something.
I don't really eat fruit, so
Fruit's healthy for you. A lot of fruit has fiber. What do you mean it's gross? Just all fruit is gross?
it's like too sweet. It goes bad.
So if I handed you a bowl of fresh berries, you wouldn't eat those berries? Are you for real? That's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird. So what do you like? Well, you just want like olives all the time? Like,
I do like olives.
I mean, I like olives too, but I also like fruit. I'm just saying, like, what is your replacement for fruit? Like, if other people were to eat a snack, like eat an apple, like what do you eat?
I don't really eat snacks.
You just eat a potato, like a raw potato.
Like, drink coffee.
Yeah.
All day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I eat food.
But not fruit.
But not fruit. No.
Okay. Do you like anything sweet? Do you like candy?
Yeah.
Do you like dessert, cakes, donuts? Do you like a donut, ice cream?
So cake is disgusting. I like ice cream. I like donuts.
What about cake
really
donuts?
No.
So it's the density of the meat of the pastry that bothers you?
So I feel like there is good cake, but I feel like you more often have like absolutely terrible cake. Right?
You just said cake is disgusting and you didn't
Usually.
qualify it. You were just like, cake is disgusting, which I feel like is a really hot take that I'm interested in delving a little deeper into it. So can you explain?
I don't know what you want. When I was 6 years old, it was the last real birthday party I ever had, and I was dressed as Darth Vader, and I beat up my party guests with a lightsaber. And what do you want from me?
That was the last birthday you ever had, was when you were 6?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's not why I hate cake. Cake is gross. But...
Okay. Cake is gross. The cake is a lie. Let's put that aside. Why haven't you had a birthday party since you were 6?
I don't like it. It's like
Do you not like the attention?
Yeah.
But your name is Sturf, and you love when people say your name, but you don't want the attention. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Like, there's a little.
I don't like being the center of attention. That doesn't mean I don't like being appreciated.
Okay. All right. Bologna cake doesn't sound real at all. So how could it be real cake? You can't put Sturf in a box. Bring it back to the cake. Nerder has questions about the cake. Would you eat a carrot cake if it was moist and delicious? No? Okay. Are there any types of cakes that are generally better or worse?
Like ice cream cake is good,
But that's just ice cream.
right?
Yeah.
I like flourless chocolate cake because it's basically fudge.
Okay. What about a brownie?
I like brownies.
What about a dense chocolate cake?
It depends. I mean,
If I handed you a brownie and said, this is a cake, and you ate it, would you hate it? Because you'd think it's cake?
it depends if it's good or not. I'm not like attached to the label. Like,
Okay, I'm just exploring the boundaries
I'll
of
try
your
bad
psychoses.
cake.
You'll try
Like-
bad cake. Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone offers you a slice of, if I were to at TwitchCon, for instance, walk up to you with like a little plate with the cake on it, you wouldn't just smack it out of my hand and then
If
make.
it looks like cake, I would probably be like, no.
So you won't try it.
I mean, I would if someone like made me.
I feel like we're not really. I feel like I'm getting so many mixed messages, and this is like, this is like talking to a politician right now. Okay, let's move on from cake because I could spend the next 40 minutes on just cake.
Welcome to the cake show where we talk about cake for 2 hours.
Have you ever watched Is It Cake?
No.
Me
Seen
either.
ads for it.
Yeah, it's kind of a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Cake. Sturfy cake, Sturfy cake, Sturf eats the cake. Cake. Sorry. Is there a Sturf? One viewer would like to know if there is a skin giveaway today.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have that power.
Do you want there to be one?
Yeah, we should do a skin giveaway.
All right, there'll be a skin giveaway.
What skin are we giving away?
The CTV head skin for Archer.
Sweet.
Yeah. What is your favorite Stream Raiders unit?
I like the Rogue
Why?
because it looks like my friend.
Oh, like the classic key art rogue? Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. Is there already a song for pirates?
No.
Will there be a song for pirates?
Yes.
Will there be more than one song for pirates?
No.
Will there be cake in pirates?
Probably not.
Is it because you hate cake?
No, it's because sugar was like a commodity in those times.
What about we
And, like,
learned at
where
the
you
we
can
learned at the
have an
weekly
oven.
yesterday that candy dates back to like 2000 BC with the Egyptians who would combine honey with like nuts and fruits. You
Yeah, but
wouldn't
like, where are you gonna heat it on a ship?
What do you mean?
Like, baking requires like an oven.
A Dutch oven? I bet they had
know.
ovens on ships. I've seen movies. They have bread on ships. It's fine.
I guess they do have bread.
And they didn't have preservatives back then to the way that we have them now. So like, it's not like that bread was sitting in the hold for like 2 months before they ate it.
Yeah.
Nerder, a Dutch oven is an actual thing. It's a brick oven. Okay. I can't work like this. This is a serious AMA with Sturf, a very serious individual who I never see smile, and also never seen doesn't actually have feet. That's a weird callback. That's gonna sound really weird out of context. Let's just ignore that. That's an inside joke because one time she posted a picture and intentionally hid her feet because you're not supposed to put your feet on the internet. And then I was like, "You don't have feet," and then I've just been rolling with that for a while.
Do you ever think about how all of us could not have feet?
Yeah, all the time.
Same.
I wonder about people. You know, it's interesting working in an environment that's completely remote.
Yeah. Like, you literally don't know what people look like below
Yeah.
the waist.
Well, people seem to think I'm quite short.
I don't think you're short. Wait, I'm gonna guess your height.
Okay.
I feel like you're kind of tall. Like somewhere between like 5'10", like 5'11".
I'm 6'1",
Okay.
but like everybody who I've met who only knows me from stream are always like, "You're way taller than I thought you were gonna be," and I don't know if that's like a camera angle thing or just like a proportional thing. But I think, humans communicate with body language a lot, whether we intend to or not. And it is weird not actually ever seeing your coworkers, or if you do see them, it's just this. Most of your communication is through typing, it feels like. And is that with the Tom Cruise heels? Old Bolt, I used to be able to dunk a junior ball. Okay, not a full-size NBA ball because I couldn't palm it when I was 18, but I could jump, and I was tall-ish. I mean, tall for like a regular person, you know. I'm trying to think if I've ever actually met anybody from CTV. Well, I have, but it was before I knew them. At the 2019 TwitchCon is actually how I met, or how I was introduced to Raiders. So theoretically, I did meet Thomas and maybe Brad or Mott's, but I didn't, like, they didn't mean anything to me at the time. I had no frame of reference. 6'1's pretty tall for like a regular human that's not a professional basketball player.
Anyone who's like taller than 5'9" is just like same height.
Yeah, how tall are you?
I'm like 5'5".
Really? See,
yeah.
I would have thought you were taller than that.
Yeah.
Is Thomas tall?
Sort of.
I don't think he's short. I think Thomas is like average height for a gentleman in North America, I think.
Thomas is kind of tall.
I think pink shirt Thomas is like 2 inches taller than not pink shirt Thomas. This is not important. This is this conversation has gotten derailed.
Yeah. I'm short and everyone's taller than me.
That's fair. I didn't realize you were short though. I would have thought that you were like, I don't know, 5'9" or something, 5'8", I guess. No. So let's talk about stuff. We've got about half an hour left in our AMA, unless you need to go to your meeting.
No, let's keep going.
Let's keep going. Misha, you are not 5'5". You're taller than that. That's crazy. Pink shirt Thomas is 100% 2 inches taller than non-pink shirt Thomas. Yeah, because pink shirt Thomas is best Thomas. Everybody knows this.
I feel like Thomas just has like 12 of the same shirt in different colors.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like he was that kid that shopped at like United Colors of Benetton and just bought the same shirt in 5 different colors, but it's all the same style.
His closet looks like a cartoon character where it's just like the exact same thing.
It's organized by like warm to cold.
Like a rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kiko, we're not really, this isn't really Raiders talk specifically, and in fact Sturf doesn't work on Raiders. Sturf works on Stream Pirates, so I'm not ignoring that question. I just we don't have an answer for that, I don't think. No worries. It's a good question. I just, neither of us can really answer it with any sort of agency, so I don't want you to feel ignored. Sturf, so you have worked for 3 different gaming companies. It sounds like maybe 2.5, since you don't have full confidence in what you did at the first one, but
I think I do now.
Okay.
I just didn't at the time.
All right. Let's get serious for like 5 minutes. We have seen a lot in the past couple years about nonsense in a lot of studios. The main one would be Activision and Blizzard, but it's also come out that a lot of indie studios are also having issues. Have you ever, or do you have an opinion on being a woman in gaming in this industry?
I do.
Let's hear it.
I don't know. That's a really broad question. I could answer this question for like
I know
15 hours straight.
I mean,
but,
what's pertinent? Like, you know, like, I guess think about it from the perspective of like, I'm trying to tie it back into either streaming or something that people listening could get a takeaway, like maybe how you could deal with it, spot it, address it, what to do about it, stuff like that.
So I feel like the thing about sexism and racism and all of those things is like it's a like broadly systematic issue that you as much do to yourself as other people do to you, and like it's a thing that like you can surround yourself with individuals who like want to support you and want to help you, and that's not the whole piece of the puzzle still. And I think it's maybe this has gone too deep too fast. I guess like yeah, like there are ways in which games, like a lot of other industries, have those problems, but I think they have it like worse in some ways because like, you know, games as an industry is like relatively young, and it was like a thing that people were very much like getting their group of friends together to do it at the very beginning, and it like it's very like, you could say it's boys clubby, but it's actually just like clubby in general, where it's like it was kind of born of like people who wanted to do a cool thing that was not necessarily mainstream with people who were like-minded. And I think you see that both in like gamers and game developers, where it's like that was a thing that made you special at a time, and it was a thing you bonded together over. And as games have become really mainstream to the point where it's like kind of funny to even have the word gamer, like you don't refer to people who watch movies as like moviers or whatever. Like kind of everyone like watches TV or movies or listens to music, and we're kind of getting there with games where like in some form or another most people like engage in interactive experiences that could be called games. That clubbiness can feel like you're losing it, and like I think that's like hurtful to some people, to feel like they've lost that specialness, I guess. Which is, but yeah, I guess is like a weird side path to just being like, that's kind of where the industry has been, is like in a space where people are like, well, I'm weird and different, and my weird and differentness is very like anti-outsider. And I think that has an effect on being like a woman, or not being a white man actually in general, in terms of being like excluded from that as a group. And it's a lot better, and I'm like relatively young in this industry compared to a lot of like compared to the industry itself. And I think that it's like been largely good for me, and like my perspective on it is like it's been good, but it's still absolutely there.
Yeah.
And like you still kind of notice things that you're like, oh, why is this hard for me? Why do I like judge myself harder than other people? Why do I feel like I have to over advocate for myself? Why do I feel like you know, like people will like overlook the flaws of my coworkers but not overlook my flaws? And I think like, you know, a lot of people experience this in one way or another. I feel like I've lost the thread here.
Well, so I mean, so what it sounds like is it's very complex. Obviously that's a no-brainer, but just to hear you kind of break it down, it is a boys club, or still remains, even though it's getting better. And you sometimes do feel on the outs, but was there like, can you kind of elaborate a little bit more? Like, are you saying that you feel excluded specifically, or you feel affected specifically, or is it like, or was when you're saying like your own perceptions? You kind of lost me towards the end of the thesis.
Yeah, I guess like to back up, it's like I think I'm definitely on the like fighty side of it, where I'm definitely like, no, I think like you should feel like you belong in games, like no matter what you look like. And like some of that like is that, you know, like games are like gendered in their genres in a lot of ways. And there are, you know, for a long time there were a lot of people who are like casual games or like Sims or like things that are like lady games, like don't count as much as shooters. And like there's, I think that like people have it in their head that like mechanics are very gendered, which is a little bit weird. So I think like some of my experience is like advocating for space there and being like, hey, there is like a huge market of people who want to play these games, whether they're the kinds of games that you think are important or good or like isn't really important, and there's like space for everyone in there. That's more from like an audience perspective. From a personal perspective, it's just like, I think one of my greatest flaws is that I don't have enough confidence in myself. And that's something that's absolutely like indoctrinated in me, or where I've been like in situations in my whole life where, you know, like people didn't listen to me, and I was like, okay, if you're not going to listen to me, then I'm not going to say anything. And like it's some combination of like, even if you're in a situation where people are really like open to that and would want to listen to you and would want to hear things, like you're doing it to yourself, I guess.
Well, you've been conditioned then in that case, right? Do you feel, I guess where I'm trying to ascertain is like, is it that you are not being listened to because you are a woman? Or is it you are not being listened to because you are a sturf or 5'5", or, and is it specific like in our industry? Like, my hope is that you don't feel that way at Captain TV specifically, but like, you know, I'm sure. How do you differentiate, I guess, between sort of your conditioned responses to these things and the idea that you're being ignored because of your gender or because you're not a cisgendered white male?
I think that's like the root of the problem, is you just never know. And I think that like more defines my experience, is that I'm like, oh, I'm not sure whether you're not listening to me because I haven't advocated for myself, because I'm a woman and you don't want to listen to me, or for like a whole other list of reasons, like I haven't actually provided the evidence to like have a reason to do this, or because I'm not that technical, like I'm not, you know, an expert in this specific thing we're talking about. And I think like that has been like specifically almost like in a production track too, it's like you're in this corner where you're like, I'm not an expert, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an artist, I'm not a designer, but I am sort of responsible for curating the player experience and being the voice of the player, and being able to say like, this is important and we should prioritize this. So to some extent, it's like you have to like just put yourself out there and be like, I think this is important, regardless as to whether I have the right tool to fix it. So yeah, I guess
I think that makes sense what you're saying, right? Like, and for me, that like eliminates one of the questions that you have to deal with, because I never consider, well, am I being dismissed because I am this, right? It makes my life a little bit more simple. I'm being dismissed because I'm an idiot, or I'm ignorant, or because that person sucks. But it's not just because arbitrarily, you know, like because of my gender or anything like that. So I can see where like adding layers upon layer of complexity, because even the way you just described it is oversimplifying the issue. Yeah,
I guess like I need to punch in by just saying like, I've been like happy and felt supported like a lot of the places I've worked, and I think it's like I'm trying to highlight, I guess, the complexity of it, where it's like people with good intentions who like want to be helpful to you are not. I guess that's where it's like they're not the whole problem, and like you will still end up in a situation where like a single person can decide that they don't respect your point of view, and like these are systematic problems. And when you read about this stuff in the news, it's like it was more often that like someone at a management level didn't take this seriously or didn't act proactively. They were like reactive to something that happened, and it's the understanding that like to fix this you have to be proactive. You have to go out of your way to make people understand that they're welcome here, and understand that they're allowed to talk. And like when there are people who are not enforcing those values, you need to make it extra clear that they are the person who doesn't belong. Right. And that is difficult to do. And it's easy to end up in a situation where like you as leadership want everyone to feel welcome, and the line of like this person is making other people not feel welcome, so they are not allowed to feel welcome in the place where we want everyone to feel welcome, can be like a very difficult managed problem to solve. And I think it goes back to like the, you know, like humans are not pure evil. Like if you let them know they've done something that made someone uncomfortable, like a lot of the time they will just straighten up and be like, I'm really sorry. But like you don't know, and when you're in a situation where that's happened to you, you don't always feel like that's something you can speak up and say.
Well, and a lot of people shy away from that sort of conflict. It's a lot easier to just be like, ugh.
Right. It's also easy to brush off as like, oh, I'm sure they didn't mean it that way. Or like, you know, like, sure, maybe it's happened a dozen times, but like, they're just like that. That's just sort of like their personality. Yeah. That
you raise a good point. Well, many good points. So let's turn this into you've had these learnings and these experiences. Like, how do you deal with it now? Like, let's say Justice TV shows up to a meeting about pirates and is just like blah 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 and not being a team player and maybe rubbing people the wrong way or saying things that are inappropriate. Like now how does more experienced Sturf deal with that? How do you advocate for yourself or others?
I feel like I'm terrible at advocating for myself, but I do feel like I've now, having been in the industry a while, gotten like very defensive about defending other people, I guess. And it's like, I guess it's sort of a perspective of like, I just don't want people to like experience what I experience, and I want like if something happens to them, or like something happens to them is sort of like a severe way of wording it, but like they should feel like lines of communication are open. And I think the worst case is that like people feel like they can't say anything, and the horror stories you read about in the news, like the thing that's horrific about them to me is not even so much that they happened, it's that people like didn't tell anyone for 10 years. And then like someone says something and it's like, actually this was a pattern of behavior, and there was like dozens of people who had the same thing, and they all felt unsupported and felt like they couldn't say anything about it. And because of that, it's like if someone had said something after the first incident, maybe it would have just gotten cleaned up and that would have been it. But yeah, I guess like I am motivated from a perspective of like trying to be a resource for people on my team, and people more broadly in the industry, I guess, to be able to like feel like they have the confidence to say something when something happens. Yeah.
It's definitely like a heavy topic. We don't shy away from those here in the AMAs. Like we want to talk about it. And whether or not anyone walks away being like, I feel definitively better or worse or more armed or less armed or whatever, just the idea that like we're talking about it and maybe getting some things to rattle around in folks' brains, I think is a net positive, right? Like, and it's good to hear from people. I mean, you are in the industry, you're also a leader in the industry, at least at Captain TV. So you have responsibilities to look out for other people and yourself. And so you bring like an additional layer of perspective. Most of us just kind of have to deal with ourselves and not necessarily our other coworkers, although we should probably for sure advocate for those whenever we see someone getting mistreated. Hey, let's play Raiders.
Let's lighten this up for a moment.
No, I like it. I mean, that's the meat, right? Like I like it, man. I that's why this is the stuff that makes it interesting to me is to we have to start with a little bit of fluff and meatballs and happiness and lightheartedness, but like it is important to get into some of the deeper, darker stuff as it pertains to all of us. And we're playing Stream Raiders, which is a game where you can play games with your streamer in your community, right? I'm good at marketing. Look at all those names on the left, and not so many on the right. So now our team that's on the left is going to go against their team on the right. Somehow I think they are the bad guys, even though we came to their house and are just messing them up. But don't worry about that. Look at that monster thing. What is this? That's the tutorial flag bearer. No, that's not what that's the most basic thing in the game. Portal's flag bearer. Holy cow.
That's haunted.
Right? That's some Mad Max stuff right there. I feel like I've seen that before, but I don't see it very often. Meatballs are so good.
That's true.
I think Ren had a lot of good stuff in chat, and we don't need to necessarily go back to it, but I agree with you, Ren. I think that's going to be our last battle of the day because we're going to wrap up in about 10 minutes. If anybody has questions for Sturf, click the button. Hey, look, faces. Now is a good time to post them. The tutorial flag bearer. So Pirates is happening. I'm pretty sure Sturf said coming out next week. Is that what you said? Specifically?
I definitely did not say that.
Oh. Are you going to be at TwitchCon?
Absolutely.
If people want to give you a high five at TwitchCon,
I will accept high fives.
If I want to give you a high five at TwitchCon,
yeah, I will accept a juice high five.
Yes. Yeah. Excited. Gooey Bear did ask a question, and we kind of maybe covered this, but not specifically. Based on your experience, what advice would you give to a woman who's considering a career in game production? And what was the best advice you received?
The advice I would give after saying all of this is like, just go do it and try not to get in your own head about it. And like, I think, a trend of my career and my life, I guess more broadly, is like, I would rather be like, in some ways naive to the consequences of things and assume that people are friendly and that people are trying to do good stuff than be jaded and afraid of like what might happen and like be reactive to things. And like, despite all of the like scary places that's wandered me into, I stick to it. And like, I think it is like largely getting better, and it's easier to have these conversations. There are a lot more people who are open to it, and it's like becoming less of a thing. It's like still very much a thing for a lot of people. Like actually like being a white woman in games is becoming sort of kind of normal, and we are moving down the chain to other people being the next like target of needing to be boosted, which is great. I guess like it's like at the end of the day, it's like focus on the work and the thing you like about it, and like try not to get in your own head about it, but also like be aware that like you enacting and like enforcing and reinforcing good culture where you work is really important, and it's not your job to do it, but everything you do is what makes the culture of the studio you work at. And if you hold them to a high standard, and you should feel like you can, and like in my experience, like going to leadership and saying like we have a problem here has only been good for me. So like I think like a lot of people do want that to be better, and you hear a lot of ways, like I think there's a lot of people who just like don't know how, and that's another thing about like the youngness of game studios is like, you know, they don't have, you know, HR departments, like a lot of them do now, but it's like it wasn't always a thing to have this understanding that like taking care of your people and like being deliberate about that is really important, the way that some more mature industries have that kind of sense. So it's like it's like you should assume that it's okay to ask for that stuff. And the worst thing that happens is someone says no. And if they say no in a way that's rude, then you probably don't want to work there. So.
And there are tools now like LinkedIn where not only can you see who works at the company, you may be able to talk to people who, if not someone you know directly, a friend of a friend who worked there and can give you info, but like look at the leadership at the company. Are there people of color? Are there women? Are there alphabet friends? Like, if so, that would indicate the likelihood of it being a positive experience would increase, I should think.
You can also just straight up ask people, like, you should, again, like back to interviews, like you should not be afraid to ask hardball questions, and if they can't answer them, then like that's bad for them. Like if they have good things to say there, like you should be able to be like, how is this thing at your studio, and they should be able to give you a serious answer. That goes for anywhere. That's not just games too. Like, and if they don't give you a serious answer, like maybe you've dodged a bullet.
Yeah, it can be hard because when we talk about this in sort of like a theoretical, well, they said this, it was bad, I said no, next thing. But like just getting your foot in the door enough to get an interview, if gaming is your passion, can be really difficult. And so funny, it might be more precious to you than you're willing to admit, and like you might be willing to be like, oh, I guess I'll roll the dice even though this doesn't seem that great, you know?
Yeah, I think there's like I'm in some like kind of like game networking diversity groups, and like a thing we were talking about recently was just like how like the tone of your events and your recruiting dictates like what people are going to act like. And we kind of got on this topic of just like there are a lot of people who want to get into games really badly and are like really in an interesting power dynamic where like if they're put in a situation where they feel like they really want to get into games, and it's pretty easy for someone to take advantage of them there. And it's really hard when you're like, I really want this thing, to understand what you're walking into. The example was like, parties that may or may not have happened at GDC this year.
Where?
At the Game Developers Conference.
Oh,
GDC.
okay.
that were like in unsafe environments and like were in in a position where you could absolutely see people who were like young and hoping to get into games, and there were people who were not behaving in a way that they should be representing their company. But like as an outsider, it's like you don't know that. You're coming in and being like, oh, this is the culture of the space, I want to fit in. And I think that's just really dangerous to put people in that situation. Like, you shouldn't feel like if you don't feel good about the situation, like you should say no. And it's really hard to do that, but you should.
Can be, yeah, for sure. I mean, Hollywood is like that microcosm of like the casting couch situation, right? And a lot of people want to get into video games the same way a lot of people want to be an actor or in that industry. I think it's fair to draw a parallel between the two. And as we've seen, like with some of the notable news out of the AAA department in the past 5 years, like people were getting taken advantage of. And there's like, and there's truth to the club. When I was at Activision in Minneapolis, not the mothership, and that was my first job specifically in gaming as like a professional. And I was told basically, oh, you got hired here, so you're going to be able to work wherever you want now that your foot's in the door, because it's a really small community at the end of the day. And a developer who leaves here is going to get hired at the next spot, and then they're going to bring their friends over, and then the nepotism club continues. Now, I didn't feel like it was specifically targeted at me because of my gender, but it was more of just like, this is a very hard community to break into, and once you're in, you're in. Which I think leads to even more pressure to do whatever it takes to get in the hopes that then, you know, the world is your oyster in the industry.
It's very true. Yeah. Like, I think that is sort of like an unfortunate truth where it's like, if you have one games job that you've been at for like a little time, it is much easier to get to your next one. It's a really small industry. Like, almost everybody knows somebody who knows somebody nearly everywhere.
Yeah.
And once, and you notice that too when you've worked at a handful of studios where you're like, oh, as soon as you move studios, it's like all of your old coworkers move to new places too, and then like your network just like expands broadly. I think that's like a big part of like recruiting, and like a lot of these initiatives is like sort of being open to like, how can people jump from other industries? How can we like be more open to like entry level roles, which is not a thing that as an industry like we're great at either. Well, it's complicated.
Wherever you go next, Sturf, I hope you'll bring me with you. That's all I have to say on that.
Okay.
Okay, good. Deal. High five at TwitchCon, and then I'm riding those Sturf coattails forever. We're gonna wrap up the show, but before we do that, we have to give free stuff out. So if you would like to win a Captain TV Archer skin, please copy paste or type Sturf is rad in chat, and that will get you eligible for that. River, would you mind coming up with a raid call as I search for someone to raid? Sturf, do you have any parting wisdom for us, or anything that you want to mention that we didn't talk about specifically?
I don't know. Y'all are wonderful. Thanks for coming out.
Wow. Platitudes from Sturf. Imagine.
Sorry I got soppy there for a second.
Yeah. You're wonderful, chat. I love everyone. Go ahead. I'm just looking at people to see who we might go raid.
Oh, yeah.
It's your show, Sturf. Go.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if you want to get into games, you should get into games. It's fun. Okay. I highly recommend it. It's chaotic and sometimes crazy, but there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
Is it true?
I mean, I don't have a ton of like the thing I love about games, and this is like kind of the double-edged sword of the other thing, is just like everyone we work with is cool. Like and that sounds, you know, like clubby or weird or soppy or whatever, but it's like it's a very like genuine kind of experience to me. It's like we're not stuffy. People kind of say what they feel, and they're just a really cool group of people. Like everyone has cool interests. Everyone brings that. Like it's a group of people who are just like passionate about making fun, and they make it, whether it's for the game or not, they make it everywhere. And when that fills your days, you are happy.
Yeah. Do stuff that makes you happy with people that make you happy, and you're going to be happy, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good wisdom, Sturf. Chrissy T is raiding. Chrissy T, thank you for the raid. I appreciate you. We're about to raid out ourselves, unfortunately, or however. But I thank you for bringing your friends over. Let's talk about real quick. Tomorrow, dev stream here. What time? I don't know. Afternoonish. River, do you know what time, or does anybody know what time the dev stream starts? Next week on Wednesday, the weekly by Captain TV will occur, as it does every Wednesday. And Mac, aka Nerder She Wrote, will not be here, but somebody, mystery co-host, will be here. So you'll need to tune in to find out. Additionally, we started a March Madness-esque tournament, but for candy. So we got through we got through the round of 64 this week. We'll finish it up to see which candy is tops as voted by chat. So that's another thing to tune in for on Wednesday of next week. And it looks like the dev stream tomorrow is at 1 p.m. Pacific time, which is 4 p.m. Eastern. We are going to raid someone whom I do not know, named Spring Moss, who is playing Dungeons. And we're going to hype up that stream and make them feel happy. Drop a follow if you like the content. We appreciate a lot of positivity, and a lot of the times we raid people, they get real excited, and that just makes my day to make other people's day. So let's do that. Oh, a new event tease tomorrow. Yeah, there'll be a new event tease. What's the next event after this event? Find out tomorrow at the dev stream. Let's get that raid going. All right. I'm going to draw winners real quick. Actually, you know what? I'm going to draw the winners after stream, and I will message 15 people with codes from the CTV account in Twitch directly. All right. We'll do it that way. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We appreciate you. Sturf, thank you so much for being flexible and able to kind of stand in last minute. You did a great job.
Totally.
You're the best. I'm glad that we're best friends. Best friends. Making so many Sturf points today. Yeah. This is the best. All right, friends. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.